You say you've moved on. But why does your chest tighten every time their name pops up on your screen? You say you've let go, but why do certain songs still stop you mid-breath? Let me ask you something real. Do you miss them? Or do you miss how you felt when you were with them? Here's the truth. Most people never say out loud, you're not holding on to the person. You're holding on to the version of yourself you thought only existed when they were near. You're mourning the part of you that smiled more, that felt seen, that believed in magic, because they once made you feel that way. But here's the twist. That version of you, it's still there. You just forgot how to access it without them. If what you're hearing right now hits something deep inside, hit that subscribe button. You don't have to go through this alone. We're building a space for healing, for power, for reclaiming the self together. But letting go is more than forgetting. It's about looking inward, facing the parts of yourself you've been afraid to meet, the parts Carl Jung called the shadow. This is where the real journey begins. This isn't one of those just block them and move on videos. And it's not about lighting candles or repeating affirmations until the pain goes away. This is different. This is shadow work. This is soul work. This is deep psychological terrain, where you look straight into the broken pieces of your inner world and finally stop pretending they're not there. Carl Jung once said, "What you do not face will return as fate." Let that sink in for a second. The patterns you repeat, the people you chase, who mirror the same kind of pain, that's not random. That's your unconscious mind, trying to get your attention. So if you're still stuck on someone who hurt you, if you keep telling yourself you're fine, but you feel anything but whole, this video is for you. Because we're not here to put a bandage over your wounds. We're here to understand them, to decode why you're drawn to what destroys you, and how to finally break free from it. And if that's something you're ready for, go ahead and subscribe now. This is a journey, and it's easier when you're not walking it alone. So, let's begin where the truth starts to hurt. You didn't fall in love with them. You fell in love with the illusion your mind created. Let's be honest. You weren't in love with the person. You were in love with what they represented. Love. Validation. A sense of being chosen. A chance to finally feel like you were enough. Carl Jung called this psychic projection. It's when we unconsciously project the parts of ourselves we believe are missing onto someone else. You didn't see them for who they truly were. You saw a reflection of your hopes, your wounds, your unfinished stories. It's like staring into a lake on a still morning. The image is beautiful. It sparkles. It moves with you. But it isn't real. It's just light, dancing on the surface. You can't hold it. You can't rely on it. And when the water gets stirred, that reflection vanishes. That's what this connection was. Not a person, but a mirror showing you everything you longed to feel. And when they couldn't hold that illusion any longer, when they stopped acting like the savior your mind imagined you shattered. Not because they changed, but because the version of you that only felt alive in their presence began to fall apart. And that version was never built on truth. It was built on longing, on emptiness, on a silent hope that they would complete what you never believed you could complete in yourself. But here's the honest, soul-cutting truth. You created that illusion. And part of letting go is taking responsibility for the story you wrote on someone else's face. That's the difference between infatuation and intimacy. Infatuation is about what you need them to be. It's driven by fantasy, by urgency, by fear of lack. But intimacy, true intimacy, requires presence. It asks you to see the person as they are, not as you wish them to be. And that level of presence, it begins with you. Because until you know your own wounds, your own voids, your own unmet needs, you will keep falling for people who echo your pain, not your truth. Ask yourself, why did you need them to be that loving, that available, that perfect? Was it because deep down, you didn't know how to give those things to yourself? We often mistake chemistry for connection. We confuse intensity with depth, and we build castles of hope on the sand of fantasy. You weren't in love with them. You were in love with the feeling they gave you, a feeling you didn't know how to access without them. And when that feeling was gone, you thought they took something from you. But the truth is, they didn't take anything. They simply walked away with the illusion you placed on them. The ache you feel, it's not for the person. It's for the part of yourself that felt alive in their presence. And that part of you is still here, still whole, still worthy. It's waiting to be reclaimed by you. Grief follows when the illusion breaks, and that's okay. But don't confuse grief with truth. You're not grieving them. You're grieving the fantasy, the dream, the story your heart wrote without asking your mind if it was real. Letting go, then, is not forgetting. It's remembering clearly what was real and what was imagined. It's the sacred act of returning to yourself after wandering too far into someone else's projection. If this realization feels heavy, if it stings, it means you're getting closer to your center. Subscribe now if you haven't already. Because this journey isn't about fixing you. It's about finding you. And you don't have to do that alone. But what happens when the illusion starts to fade and you begin changing yourself to try and save it? That's when the mask goes on. The mask Jung called the persona. And that's where we're headed next. Let's talk about the mask. Carl Jung called it the persona, the social mask we wear to survive. To be liked, to be accepted, to fit in. But the problem with wearing a mask for too long is that eventually you forget who you were before you put it on. And love becomes the perfect stage for this mask to tighten. Because when you really want to be chosen, you start auditioning. You become the version of yourself that seems most lovable, most easygoing, most understanding, most low maintenance. You suppress your needs. You shrink your opinions. You smile when you want to scream. You forgive when you're still bleeding. Not because you're weak, but because you're terrified that being fully, you might be too much. Too intense. Too complicated. Too real. So you become a performer. A peacekeeper. A caretaker. You mold yourself into whatever version seems safest to keep their love around. And for a while, it works. They like the mask. They respond to the act. You feel needed, validated, wanted. But underneath the performance, a quiet fear starts to grow. If I stop pretending, will they still stay? And that fear, it haunts you. Because deep down, you know they don't really love you. They love the role you're playing. And the cost of playing that role is losing your sense of self. You start to feel hollow, unseen, disconnected. You wake up next to them, but you don't feel close. You go out together, but you feel alone. And here's what's worse. You start measuring your worth by their reactions. Their attention, their silence, their approval. When they're distant, you feel broken. When they're warm again, you breathe. Your identity becomes entangled with how they treat you. You start to mistake attention for affection. You confuse peace with passivity. And you begin to accept crumbs as if they were proof of love. That's the curse of the persona. It doesn't just hide you from others, it hides you from yourself. You begin to wonder, who am I? Really, when I'm not trying to be loved? And the scariest thing, you don't know the answer. Because you've spent so long becoming who they wanted, you lost track of who you were becoming for yourself. And it's not just about romantic love. This runs deeper. Because the longer you wear the mask, the more you fear what lies beneath it. What if they see the real me and walk away? What if I'm not enough without the performance? What if I've never really been loved at all, just approved of? If this hits you in the chest, if it's stirring something you've buried for too long, don't look away. Subscribe now and stay with this journey. Because this isn't about shame. It's about clarity. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that got buried under years of trying to be enough. You don't have to keep performing. You don't have to keep earning your place. You don't have to live in fear that the truth of who you are will drive love away. Real connection doesn't require a mask. It requires presence, honesty, and the courage to show up as you are, even when it's uncomfortable. But here's the thing. When you wear the mask for too long, your body knows, your nervous system knows, and it starts to speak up, not with words, but with a quiet, relentless signal called anxiety. And that's exactly where we're going next. Anxiety is not random. It's not just some chemical imbalance. It's a message, a signal from your soul that something inside you is out of alignment. Carl Jung believed that anxiety is what happens when your inner world is being split in two, when your authentic self is being silenced, while your outer self is busy performing. And the longer that gap remains between who you are and who you pretend to be, the louder anxiety gets. It starts subtly, a racing heart here, a tight chest there, sleepless nights, a constant feeling that something's off, but you can't name it. So you distract. You stay busy. You scroll. You overwork. You overgive. You do everything except sit still. Because sitting still means feeling the fracture inside you. But here's what no one tells you. Anxiety is the sound of your truth, trying to come up for air. It's not here to ruin your life. It's here to reclaim it. It's your inner self saying, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep pretending I'm okay when I'm breaking inside. I can't keep playing the version of me you think the world needs. You say, I'm fine. But your chest says, I'm suffocating. You say, it's not a big deal. But your body says, this is killing me. The split creates pressure. And just like a violin string, the tighter it's pulled, the closer it gets to snapping. This is the crisis of living a divided life. And most people don't even realize they're doing it. You were told to be strong, to get over it, to be chill, cool, easy to love. So you internalized the pain. You swallowed your voice. You became polite instead of honest, pleasant instead of powerful, silent instead of seen. And the cost, a quiet war inside you where your soul is trying to speak, but your survival instincts keep pushing it down. Anxiety is not weakness. It's the voice of your inner child, your unmet needs, your buried grief, saying, "Please, listen to me." But you were never taught how to listen. You were taught how to cope, how to shut it off, how to numb it, with distractions, with relationships, with perfectionism, with control. But what if, instead of trying to silence your anxiety, you leaned in and asked it what it needs? What if anxiety was less of a curse and more of a compass, a pointer, guiding you back to the places in your life where you've abandoned yourself? If that feels true, if even a small part of you wants to stop running and start listening, subscribe now. Because this isn't about fixing the anxiety. It's about translating it. Your body is wise. Your emotions are messengers. And every anxious breath is a doorway to your real self. But if anxiety is the alarm, what keeps setting it off? Why do you keep choosing people who trigger this panic, this uncertainty, this ache? The answer lies in the shadow. The part of you you've exiled. The part you've been too afraid to face. And that's exactly where we're going next. Let's go deeper. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep falling for people who hurt me? People who are emotionally unavailable, cold, controlling, or completely indifferent to your needs. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're weak. And no, you're not addicted to toxic love. You're attracted to something familiar, something buried, something deep inside of you that's been trying to get your attention for a long time. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the hidden self. The collection of traits, emotions, desire, and wounds that you've been told are unacceptable, unlovable, or too much. So you pushed them down. You buried them. You labeled them as shameful. The anger you weren't allowed to express. The sadness you were told to hide. The neediness you felt embarrassed by. The intensity you thought no one could handle. All of it went into the shadow. But here's the truth Jung taught us. What we repress doesn't disappear. It waits. And eventually, it finds a way to be seen. Often, through the people we're drawn to. We unconsciously seek out relationships that mirror the very parts of ourselves we've denied. That cold, emotionally distant partner might reflect the emotional numbness you developed to survive. That controlling lover might echo the part of you that's been craving agency but afraid to claim it. You don't choose pain on purpose. You choose what feels familiar. And what feels familiar is often what we haven't healed. It's not that you love being mistreated. It's that part of you deep down believes that mistreatment is all you deserve. Or worse, you believe that if you can just earn love from someone incapable of giving it, then you'll finally be enough. That belief doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from the shadow, from the wounded child in you who learned that love has to be chased, that approval has to be earned, that your voice, your needs, your feelings are inconvenient. But guess what? Your shadow isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to integrate, to be acknowledged, to be brought back into the light. Because healing doesn't come from rejecting your shadow. It comes from learning how to hold it with compassion. And here's the breakthrough. You don't heal by finding someone who finally treats you right. You heal by understanding why you tolerated what wasn't right in the first place. You heal by asking deeper questions like, what was I truly seeking from this person? What did I hope they would fix inside me? What part of me felt seen in their dysfunction? And the most powerful one of all, what did I learn about myself from the person who hurt me? That question can change everything. Because suddenly, they're not just someone who caused pain, they're a mirror. And that mirror shows you exactly where your healing begins. If this moment is pulling something real to the surface, if a name or memory just flashed through your mind, pause and breathe. This is where the work gets real. Subscribe now if you haven't already. Because the next steps are about integration, and you won't want to rush through them alone. And once you begin facing the shadow, once you stop running from it and start learning from it, something powerful happens. You begin the process Jung called individuation, the return to your authentic self. The self you buried under masks, wounds, and performance. And that is where we're going next. Let's talk about something deeper than healing, something more than moving on, something Carl Jung called individuation. Individuation isn't about fixing yourself. It's not about becoming someone better. It's about becoming someone truer. It's the process of stripping away everything you were taught to be, so you can finally remember who you were before the world told you to be someone else. It's about unlearning the roles, the masks, the personas, and standing fully in your original self. That version of you that never had to perform to be loved. That version of you that didn't beg to be chosen. That didn't shrink, suppress, or apologize for existing. That version of you is still here, waiting beneath the pain, beneath the survival patterns, beneath the layers of approval-seeking and fear-based love. And here's the truth, Jung reminds us. You don't move on from pain by forgetting it. You move forward by integrating what it taught you about yourself. Individuation begins when you stop chasing others and start turning inward. It begins when you realize you didn't lose yourself because of love. You lost yourself because you abandoned yourself to keep love. But love that costs you your wholeness is not love. It's dependency dressed in hope. Each time you set a boundary, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Each time you say no to chaos, and yes to stillness, you return home to your center. Each time you choose silence over begging, truth over approval, self-respect over self-sacrifice, you become less of what the world shaped and more of what your soul remembers. And no, you don't stop loving them overnight. But you stop using their presence as a way to feel like you exist. You stop needing them to see you in order to feel seen. You stop needing them to want you in order to feel worthy. Because individuation isn't about detachment from people, it's about detachment from the illusions that kept you small. If this resonates, if you feel something inside you slowly aligning, subscribe now. Not because this video has all the answers, but because you've just taken a step toward remembering your own. You're not healing to return to who you used to be. You're healing to become who you really are. And that's a sacred journey, a quiet revolution, where the power doesn't come from being understood by others, but from finally understanding yourself. And once you start walking this path, you'll realize something surprising. Letting go isn't about erasing what happened. It's about no longer being defined by it. It's about releasing the anchor, so you can finally move forward. And that's exactly where we're heading next. Letting go is one of the most misunderstood acts of healing. People say, just forget them. Get over it. Move on. As if healing were a switch you can flip. As if emotions follow logic. But the soul doesn't heal by deleting. It heals by understanding, by facing, by releasing, not rejecting. Letting go isn't about pretending it never happened. It's not about burying the memory or numbing yourself into indifference. It's about taking the story off repeat. It's about recognizing when your love for them has turned into a prison for you. It's the moment you stop rereading the same chapter and admit that the ending is already written. Letting go is liberation. Not from the person, but from the internal contract that says your happiness depends on them. It's choosing to stop dragging the weight of someone who's no longer walking beside you. It's realizing that your obsession with closure has become another form of self-abandonment. You wait for the apology. You wait for the explanation. You wait for that one moment where they'll say, "I see you. I'm sorry. You mattered." But maybe that moment won't come. And maybe that's okay. Because closure isn't something they give you. It's something you create for yourself. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you finally care about yourself more. It's not coldness. It's clarity. It's not detachment. It's discernment. It's not about denying the bond you shared. It's about choosing not to be defined by its ending. Letting go is like pulling up an anchor so your ship can move again. Not because the anchor was bad, but because the journey must continue. You're not erasing the past. You're integrating its wisdom. You're saying, "Yes, that happened. Yes, it shaped me. And yes, I still get to choose who I become next." And here's the part no one tells you. Letting go is an act of integrity, not selfishness. It's refusing to keep sacrificing your inner peace to maintain an outer connection. It's saying, "I love you, but I will not betray myself to hold on to you." It's learning the difference between fighting for love and losing yourself in the process. It's honoring the truth that real love doesn't ask you to shrink, to beg, or to bleed endlessly for the hope of being chosen. Letting go isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's the sacred moment when you stop asking someone else to rescue your heart and you begin to reclaim it with your own two hands. So if your heart is whispering right now, "If only I could do that," let me tell you this, you already have. Letting go doesn't happen in one dramatic gesture. It happens in quiet choices. Like choosing to not respond. Like deleting the draft you never sent. Like breathing through the urge to check their page. Like saying no more in your heart, even if your hands still shake. It starts the moment you say, "This chapter is over, but I'm still here. And I'm still whole." Subscribe if you're ready to live from that wholeness. Because this space, this journey, is for people who are no longer waiting for permission to heal. It's for people who are done reaching outward and ready to rise inward. And now, if you're ready for your first real step, not just in thought, but in action, join me. We'll begin together. If you've made it this far, I want to invite you to do something small, but powerful. It's not loud. It's not dramatic, but it matters. It's a moment of choice, a symbolic act to honor everything that has been and everything you are becoming. Go to the comments and write this I let go of. The name, the memory, the story, the pain. Write what you're ready to release, not for attention, not for anyone else to see, but as a line in the sand, as a declaration to yourself that today you begin again, that this is the moment you stop carrying what was never yours to hold. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to justify it. You just need to choose it. Because symbolic acts create real change. When you write it down, you're not just releasing them, you're reclaiming you. You're saying, I'm done living in the echo of someone who left. I'm done making my identity a monument to my pain. I am ready to walk forward, lighter, clearer, freer. This is not the end. This is the turning point. The shift, the beginning of something deeper, stronger, more you. It's the beginning of your return. Back to the parts of yourself you abandoned to survive. Back to the voice you silenced. Back to the truth that never left you, only got buried under pain. You are not broken. You are rediscovering. You are not weak. You are choosing peace over performance. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be, right here, right now, taking this breath and choosing something new. If this video helped you see a part of yourself more clearly, if something deep inside you whispered, "This was for me," then don't walk this path alone. Subscribe. Not because I have all the answers, but because you don't have to carry the questions by yourself. Each week, you'll find something here, a voice, a reminder, a reflection to help you keep going, keep remembering, keep rising. And when you're ready, watch the next video. It's not just a continuation. It's an invitation to go deeper on this path back to yourself. Because letting go is not the last chapter. It's the first page of a new story, one where you are the center, whole, worthy, and finally, free.